In this video, I'm going to show you how to avoid the low inventory level fee using the calculator and simulator sheet that I built. Whether you're already paying it and you want to know when and how it will go away, or if you are afraid you will pay it and want to know what to do to avoid it, I will break down in simple terms how exactly the fee works, and we'll give you a clear step-by-step guide on how to use the Google Sheet low inventory level fee calculator and simulator to see all the different actions you could take that will affect this fee and all the metrics it relies on. So this is the sheet that I created. It looks big, but it's simple to use and it's very useful. I'm going to cover things, answers to questions such as how much is the fee, what is the purpose of the fee, how it's calculated, how you could avoid it, and I'm going to review the sheet. So let's start with the first one, how much is the fee? So Amazon, the low inventory level fee help page shows the fee. You could see it's based on different size tiers. So based on how big your product is and how much it weighs, you will pay per unit up to $1.11 extra, $1.11 extra per unit shipped if you are in the lowest tier and the highest tier of this fee. The lowest tier is it will be only 32 cents per unit. Still, this could add up very quickly. The purpose of the fee is essentially Amazon wants to make sure that you keep high enough levels of inventory at Amazon warehouses at all times, so that they could offer easily same or next day shipments to all customers at a low cost to them. So the way they offer same or next day shipping to customers at a low cost is by having your goods dispersed across tens, if not more, fulfillment centers all across the country. Dispersing your goods all over the country takes time, and Amazon could only do it if you have enough inventory in stock. If you don't have enough, then what happens is your inventory ends up being in stock only in specific locations, very few locations around the country, and then getting your orders to customers within the same or next day costs too much for Amazon, or they just won't offer it, and which will lead to less sales. So Amazon is trying to encourage you to keep at all times over 28 days of inventory, ideally more. So that's the goal of the fee from Amazon's perspective. How is the fee calculated? So this part is a bit confusing. Amazon uses two metrics to calculate the fee, and these are new metrics they introduced for these fees. The metrics are average daily inventory units and average daily shipped units. So over a period of time, either 30 days or 90 days, they will look every day at your how many units you had in inventory and how many units you shipped that day across every single day, and then they will create averages. So the first average will be over 30 days. So they will look over 30 days, on average, how many units you had in stock, and on average, in the past 30 days, how many units you shipped. And this will create one metric, which is short-term historical days of supply. And then they will look at the same metrics over 90 days. So over 90 days, how many units you had in stock on average every single day, and how many units you shipped every single day. And that will create the long-term historical days of supply metric. And then they will look at the higher number of these two, and they will determine if you pay the fee or not. If the historical days of supply, the higher number between the 30 and the 90 days is above 28, you will pay no fee. If it's between 21 and 28, you will pay this fee. If it's between 14 and 21, you will pay this fee. And if it's between 0 and 14, you will pay this fee. And you can see over here on this page, they explain how they calculate it. They go through a few examples. So how could you avoid the fee? So you could avoid the fee by making sure that at any given time, at least one of these metrics, either the short-term historical days of supply or the long-term historical days of supply, is above 28. Now, it sounds easy, but because these are averages, it's hard to influence them quickly, because even if yesterday your historical days of supply, the higher metric was 10, even if you shipped 100,000 units and they received them tomorrow, your average wouldn't go up within one day, because it's still looking at the last 30 days, and the inventory you have today only influences one day out of those 30 days. So in order for your 30-day average to go up, a few days would need to pass, at least a few days, for the most recent inventory numbers to influence your average. So that's what this sheet is really good for. And I will go through how to enter the information here, but essentially this sheet will show you for any given scenario, any given situation that Amazon tells you what your current situation is. It will show you what will happen based on how many units you ship and when, what will happen and how soon you will get rid of the fee, and how soon it will come back unless you ship X amount of units. So I'm going to go through this sheet now. So on top we have the links to the official policy page and the Amazon forums. There's a nice post in the Amazon forums where they explain it a little further and give some examples. And basically for this sheet you only need to fill out the cells in yellow, and I will go through these cells one by one. So the first cell to fill out is the yesterday's date. So we start with yesterday's information, mainly because we need to know how many units we're selling per day. So yesterday is a complete day, so we'll look at yesterday's stats. Now the first thing we want to know is, okay, how many units did you have in stock for this product that we're looking at yesterday, and how many did you sell yesterday? So for our purposes of our example, we have 5,000 units in stock. Yesterday we had 5,000 units in stock, and we are selling 196 units. Now these next metrics we are going to copy from Amazon. So on the FBA inventory page, and over here there's a link, you could get to that page, there will be a metric that's called, or rather a column that's called low inventory level fee. It will look something like this, and over here it will show you your historical days of supply. But in order to get the real picture, you have to click on details, and then you will get a screen that looks like this. So over here, this is the information that we need to copy over to the sheet. This is Amazon telling you as of the last date that it was updated. So this Amazon updates this once a week. So it will give you the information that you need to copy in here. So you will have your short-term numbers, 3 numbers. There's historical days of supply, average daily on-hand units, and average daily shipped units. You will copy that into here. So historical days of supply, average daily on-hand units, and average daily shipped units. And then they will give you it for 90 days. Again, the same 3 metrics, which you will enter in over here. After you've done that, then we're going to ask you, on average, how long it takes for your shipments for Amazon to receive them. So from when you send them from when you prepare the shipment, create the shipment, until Amazon receives it, what's the lead time? So we could help you calculate how early you want to send the units. And then we're going to ask you, what's your days of cover goal, meaning how many days of sales you want to have at Amazon inventory at any given time. This will help you figure out whatever number you don't want to go below. The sheet will show you how many to send in order to stay above that threshold. And then the last piece of information here is for you to put in what category your product falls in based on the size tiers and the weight. So you could put in the fees that Amazon will charge you, and there's a link here to figure out your size tier, and then a link to see the actual rates. So if you click here, it will take you to the rates, so you can see here. So based on your product, you would put in the rates for each one of these 3 metrics, and then we will show you at the end of the sheet, we will show you how much you will pay when you're paying the fee. Now obviously here, these are all examples. Now we're going to go through to see how we could actually use this. So we're assuming in the sheet, we're assuming here that you're going to send your inventory once a week, and you could pick the day that you want to send. This is not required. You could enter here any given day of the week. You could decide how many you're going to send. You could send every day. It's up to you. This is just for purposes of figuring out what makes most sense. So in this current example, we see current metrics are that our current status is no good. We could see that the 90-day historical days of supply is 90 days is 23.6, and the 30 days is 20.2. So we're below the 28. So you could see over here, we're looking at yesterday's date. Well, actually, we're looking at April 22nd. So if we go here, this is the snapshot for April 22nd. And you could see here, historical days of supply 20.22. And for 90 days, it's 23.58. So the conclusion is, this is the one Amazon's looking at. Amazon always looks at the high one. And are we going to pay the fee? Yes. How much is the fee going to be? It's going to be 36 cents per unit. And since we're selling 196 units, our total fees for the day will be $70.50. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if it keeps dipping, then the fee will go up. So for example, once it goes here, now we're below 21, so the fee goes up to 70 cents, and once it goes down further, it will be higher. In this case, if we don't do anything, it actually won't go down further because we will run out of stock pretty quick. And remember, this fee is charged only on units sold, only when units ship. If you're not selling anything, there is no fee. So once you run out of stock, you don't have to worry about this. Obviously, if you run out of stock, you have bigger issues. So in our case right now, if we do nothing, we're going to run out of stock. We have 25 days of cover, which is below what we want, right? That's why this is orange. And once we dip below, we have our 7-day lead time. So once we dip below 7 days of cover, it turns into red, which means if you don't have more units coming in if you don't ship anything by here, by this date, then you will run out of stock before the new goods come in. So that's obviously no good. So now we're going to start to simulate and say, okay, what do we need to do in order to get rid of this fee? So in our case, we're going to say, okay, well, let's say today is Thursday and we want to ship some units. So how many should we ship? So by saying that's really determined by the days of cover goal and how long it takes for units to arrive. So if we assume we want 45 days of cover, so we can look at the sheet over here. Right now we have 25.51. Let's say today is Thursday. We have 23 days of cover and our goal is 45 plus 7 days for the units to arrive. So we should send 5,584 in order to get to this day of cover. So we're going to put in here 5,000. So we're going to put 5,584 units. Now once we put this in, a couple of things happen. So the sheet calculates based on how many days of lead time you set when Amazon will actually receive the units. So you could see here it's set to receive 7 days later. If you change this to 10, it will go down here. If you change this to, if you do it pretty quick, it will go up here. Whatever you set it to, that's how long it will show up. So now by sending these units, the sheet will show you Amazon will receive them 7 days later, and then it will show you what will happen. So what will happen is on this date, once they receive them, you will have 45 days of cover. And obviously you will have 45 days of cover because that's how we calculated it. We looked at the calculation and that's why we got these units. So the day they'll receive them, you'll have 45 days of cover, assuming you're still selling 196 per day. And I'll go over in a minute how to change that because obviously some days you could sell more, you could sell less. And then without doing anything else, just by doing this, we could see on the sheet that within, so this is here, 1, 2, 3, 4 days after the Amazon receives them, we will stop paying the fee because our average, our 30-day historical days of supply will go up pretty quickly. So you can see here, right now Amazon's using the 90-day because it's the higher one, but by sending this amount of units, the 30-day historical days of supply will go up pretty quickly from 20. So here it's still 20, 22, and then it will go up within a couple of days, it will go up to over 28, and then we will stop paying the fee. So this is pretty good. Now this will last us for about maybe 2 or 3 weeks. And if we do nothing else, then on May 28th, we will start paying the fee again, right? So we don't want that, obviously. So what we're gonna do is okay, so we're gonna say next week, maybe at this point here, we want to send, right, assuming we want to send once a week. You could obviously change, you could send more here, you could send 10,000, and then, you'll get rid of the fee a little earlier, and you won't need to send any more at all. However, by doing this, your days of cover will go up significantly, so you will be at 60. And the risk with that is that if you miscalculate your sales numbers, so you think you're going to keep selling 196 per day, but say you start selling a lot less, then you run into the risk of paying long-term storage fees. So you want to have some sort of balance there and get into a rhythm of sending small amounts more frequently, so you have you're able to make changes quickly and adjust to selling more or selling less. So we're going to keep this at 5584, and then we're going to say over here, let's say we want to send once a week. So today on the 10th, on Thursday, we are going to, which is the 1st of May, we are going to send another 1372. And as you can see right now, if we send based on these sales numbers, 1372 is the number to send every week to keep us at the goal we want. So over here, it's setting to send another 1372 and 1372. And if we keep doing this, you will see every week it will dip to 39 and we'll go back to 45. Dip to 39, go back to 35, and we will stay away. As long as we keep doing this, we will never pay the fee. Now, obviously, this is all assuming we are selling 196 unit exact every day, which is obviously not realistic. There's a few ways to deal with this. If you know or you have an assumption of how many more units you will sell or how many less units you will sell over time, you could do that over here. You could change it. I'm going to sell 10% more on here, and then I'm going to sell here. I'm going to sell 5% less. You could just make a bunch of assumptions, and based on that, let's say this is a new item, and right now you're selling, yesterday, let's say you only sold 25. and you only had 300 in stock. So you change that. So now the sheet is saying, no problem, you're not gonna pay the fee. So you're not gonna pay the fee very soon because you're selling so little. But let's adjust this, right? So let's say here we're sending 1,050, and then here we're sending. Let's send over here a little more because we don't want to get rid of the fee. Okay, so let's use sending here 5,000. So if you send there 5,000, the sheet is going to tell you, oh well, you're doing fine. You're going to have 180 days of inventory, 200 days of inventory. This is assuming you're selling 25. Now you know that you're doing marketing, you're doing some activities. This product is going to grow, so you're going to assume that it's going to sell here. It's going to start selling 10% more, and then another 10% more, and then another 10% more, and you could make a bunch of assumptions here, and based on this, let's add this. Right, so say you think within a month you're going to start selling 100 a day, and then within 2 months you're going to start selling 200 a day. So you could see very quickly here how now these numbers are going against you again. So at this point you will want to start shipping in more units again to account for the changes. So you could easily simulate all these things over here. Now the most straightforward way to use this is to any product that you're worried about, you go in, you put in the metrics for the day you're starting to track this, and then every day you go in and you just adjust the units sold, the daily sale units for the previous day. So say today is Thursday, and then on Tuesday you sold 25, and today is Thursday, so yesterday you ended up selling 30. So we're gonna put, let's say there was a 20% increase, and then now let's say today is Wednesday, and you ended up selling here, you sold 33, and on this day you sold 31, and then on this day you sold 41, and then on this day you sold, actually you had a crazy promotion, you sold 107, and then here you went back to selling less amount. All right, so now based on these numbers, you know what to do. At this point, say you're holding here. Now you want to know, okay, I think I'm going to continue selling. I think I'm going to continue selling about this amount going forward. I'm going to continue selling about 70 a day. So what should I do now? Today is Thursday. What should I do? And you'll see here right now you're paying the fee, and you should send 904, at least 904 if you want to get days of cover 45. And if you do that, then by the 11th, within less than 2 weeks, you will stop paying the fee. And it will tell you how much to continue sending, and so on and so forth. So it's useful for when you're paying the fee to simulate very quickly how to stop paying the fee. And it's useful for keeping track of an item as you're going. If you want to figure out the quantities to send, you could use this. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you understood how to use it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. If you want to understand how these formulas work, you could look at the cells and see the calculations. They're based on basically how Amazon says they calculate it. Basically what the sheet does is every single day it looks at the amount of units you have in stock, the amount of units you sold. It makes the calculation of the number of what's your average daily average units shipped and daily average units in inventory, and it looks at the previous days and it calculates a new number and it shows you what the number will be. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day.